Big data can feel, well, kind of faceless and anonymous. So today, we're going to zoom all the way in on just one school to see the real story behind all those numbers. We're going to look at the students, the academic performance, and the challenges they're facing at Southern Middle School. Let's dive right in. Okay, first things first, let's get our bearings. Before we start digging into any of the data, we need to know where we are and what Southern Middle School is all about. And here it is. This is Southern Middle School, right in Calvert County, Maryland. This building, this is really the heart of the community that we're about to explore. And just to put it on a map for you, Calvert County is this peninsula here in southern Maryland, kind of nestled between the Patuxent River and the Chesapeake Bay. So how big of a school are we talking about here? Well, it's a community of 442 students from 6th to 8th grade. That's a pretty typical mid-sized middle school, which makes the data we're about to see even more interesting. All right, so now that we have a sense of the place and the size, let's take a closer look at those 442 students. Who are they? Who makes up this student body? This chart here really gives you a good breakdown. As you can see, the student population is majority white, but it's absolutely a diverse place, with pretty significant populations of African American, multiracial, and Hispanic students all learning together. Now, this gives us a really crucial piece of the puzzle, the economic landscape. Almost half the students are considered economically disadvantaged, and more than half qualify for free and reduced price meals, what they call farms. Now, you're going to want to keep this in mind, because it's a factor that often plays a big role in academic performance. And with all that context in place, we're going to pivot to the real core of what we're talking about today, a pretty significant academic hurdle that the school's own performance data has brought to light. So let's start with math. In Maryland, the state measures a school's success using 7 key performance indicators. You can kind of think of these as 7 different goals or benchmarks that the school is supposed to meet every single year. So out of those 7 annual targets in math, how many did Southern Middle School actually hit? The answer, according to the data, is 0. That one number tells you right away that there's a major school-wide challenge happening in mathematics. So is this story any different when we look at English language arts, or ELA? Well, the setup is exactly the same. Just like with math, student achievement is measured against 7 of these key indicators. And the results? Unfortunately, it's the same story. 0 targets met. This tells us the issue isn't just about one subject, it's a systemic challenge across the school's core academics. Okay, so we know the school missed its big annual targets, but what does that actually mean for the students' skills? Let's drill down into proficiency rates to see how this all breaks down. This is where we can really start to pinpoint the gaps. This chart makes the math proficiency gap crystal clear. At Southern Middle, just over 12% of students are proficient in math. That's roughly half the average for the county and the state. That's a really significant lag. Now, in English, the overall numbers are definitely higher, but that gap is still there. Southern Middle's proficiency is at 42.4%, and while that's way better than their math score, it's still trailing well behind the county average of about 55% and the state average of 50%. And the data gets even more specific, which is actually super helpful. It shows us exactly which groups of students are struggling the most. For math, Hispanic and Latino students and economically disadvantaged students showed no improvement. For English, it was Black and African American students and students with disabilities. See, this is the kind of detailed info that can lead to really targeted support. Looking at numbers like these, it can be a little disheartening. But the whole point of data isn't to just issue a final grade. It's to give you a map. It shows you exactly where you need to go. So the big question is, what's next for Southern Middle School? This data paints a very clear, if challenging, picture. But that clarity, that's the absolute first step toward making a change. So the question now becomes, how can the teachers, the staff, and the whole community at Southern Middle School use this map to forge a new, more successful path forward for every single one of their students?